sorry, I wasn't here.
Okay, all right, yeah, just take pictures of the signs.
Okay.
All right. So going back onto what I was saying, so you had it to where the so-called Alexandrian, the beginning of the Greco-Roman Empire, right, starting first and foremost with Alexander the so-called Great, when that was divvied up onto his 4 generals, they took control of what was they took control of all the earth's resources, because that's what they acquired when they took down the Medo-Persians. So now let's see what the scripture says about their rule, their so-called beginning of civilization. Okay, so it says here, and after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves, and so did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied within the earth. So when you had it to where the so-called genesis, all right, of Edomite rulership, Esau, okay, when he comes into power, which is another mystery of the scriptures, because you ain't gonna have it to where you're gonna go out there, okay, and you're gonna understand from these churches that Esau, right, Edom, they're the ones that are ruling, and not only that, they're gonna be destroyed. They ain't gonna tell you these different things out here, but you see, when you was gonna go out there into the midst of into the midst of the people in chief places of concourse, all right, as we're reading out here within the book of Proverbs, Proverbs the 1st chapter, when you was gonna understand these different things, because going back onto the book of 1 Corinthians, the 4th chapter, okay, right, we are the stewards, right, of the mysteries of Yahweh Shemel Shai. Okay, so we're doing our stewardship right here, man. Right now, you see me, but you go to where you got all types of different brothers out there doing the same stewardship, man. Okay, right, doing the same thing like the scriptures gonna say later on within the book of 1 Corinthians, the 4th chapter, was deemed as the foolishness of preaching. I believe it might be even in the same chapter. Okay, right, made the filth of the earth, but through the filth of the earth, this world was gonna be pushed out heavy, man. Okay. So let's get back now onto the scriptures now. This is the back in the, so we're finished out there within the book of Maccabees, the 1st chapter. Let's go to Proverbs, the 29th chapter and the 2nd verse, and then I go to Job, the 9th chapter. In fact, I could go to Job, the 9th chapter now. Okay? The book of Job, the 9th chapter. Right, the book of Job, the 9th chapter and the 24th verse. It says, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? Okay, so when it says the earth is given into the hands of the wicked, what's that talking about? That's talking about the history of how the previous kingdoms that existed before this kingdom that you're living out here. You might call it a government, but it's nothing but a kingdom. Okay, right? It's nothing but a kingdom spearheaded by America. Okay, the beast, NATO, right? Esau's power structure. Okay, that's the kingdom that's in rulership right now. In every other state, every other government, every other dynasty that you have that exists within the world, you might call them the Chinese government, you might call it the Japanese government. They're all subordinate underneath this beast system, man. They're all subordinate underneath the empire of the so-called white man. Okay, which is Esau is pursuant to the scriptures, because you're not gonna have it to where all Edomites is gonna look the same. Just the same thing with Jacob, man. Okay, so let's go back onto the book of Proverbs, the 29th chapter, on the 2nd verse. Right, so this is Proverbs 29 and 2. Right, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked beareth rule, right, the people mourn. Okay, and that's what you were seeing within the book of First Maccabees, the first Maccabees, round about the 7th. First Maccabees, the 1st chapter, round about the 7th verse. You had it to where the so-called genesis of Edomite power, the Greco-Roman Empire, right, the Greeks. Okay, when they came into power, evils multiplied within the earth. So from those events that are stated within the scriptures, and from the prophecy that was said within the book of Proverbs, how that when the wicked beareth rule, wickedness multiplies. There we know that Esau is the wicked man. He's that wicked one that the scripture speaks about. But let's see about his judgment. So book of Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter. Okay? And I'll start from the top. Then I'll go back onto Proverbs. And I'll go back onto the book of 1 Corinthians. So this is Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, and the 1st verse on down. It says, I'll stand upon my watch. I'll set me upon the tower, and I will see what you'll say unto me, and why shall I answer when I am reproved? And that's speaking about the same thing we're reading within the book of Proverbs and the book of 1 Corinthians, man. Being the stewards of this truth, okay? The stewards of these mysteries, okay? Since we've been out here, right, for the last 15 minutes or so, you had it to where manifold mysteries have been revealed. Okay, but like the scripture says, foolishness is set in great dignity. So here it is, the mysteries of the scriptures is being spewed out here, right? Being poured out as if it were waters. And you go into where the vast majority of the people, they're thinking about what they're gonna do when they go out there and watch some foolishness on TV or something crazy like that. Okay, because you got into where foolishness is set in great dignity out here. Okay, let's go back onto the scriptures. Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter and the 2nd verse. And the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables that he may run that readeth it. Okay, so when you was going to see this vision, you're going to take heed unto the Most High if you was an Israelite. Okay, but if you was one of these different nations, well, great fear is supposed to fall upon you. Especially when you see it to where you got men of the Lord standing up and they're telling you the same thing, man. Esau is going to be destroyed. This whole empire that you know as NATO, this United Kingdom, USA, all of that, that's going to be crumbled down and it's going to be destroyed, man. You go to the book of Daniel, the 2nd chapter, it tells you that. Okay, in the days of these kings, so the Most High set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. You go to our people say, oh yeah, that's the kingdom of heaven. Well, you're damn right, it's the kingdom of heaven. But the kingdom of heaven ain't going to coexist with any other kingdom. Right? You ain't going to have it to where you got the kingdom of heaven and Britain. You ain't going to have the kingdom of heaven and the USA. You ain't going to have it to where you got the kingdom of heaven and the Chinese conglomerate of people. I like that word. Okay, you ain't going to have those things existing at the same time. What you was going to have is you was going to have one rulership under King David, as pursuant to the book of Amos, the 9th chapter. Okay, right, the tabernacles of David being risen up again, and this is part of the whole tabernacle of King David, man. Those will I be one of those men. Okay, this is the whole part. This is the whole part of that whole rulership. Where you got governors over there. They're doing captains and governors over there. They're fulfilling their duties, spread out throughout the four corners of the earth to push the message out there. And then the Most High is going to sift all of those people and say, boom, you're over here. And you're going to take over the whole world. But you ain't going to have it to where that takeover is going to exist with some other kingdom out here. The scripture talks about how those kingdoms that exist were going to be crushed to pieces, man. It's going to be broken down. Okay, and it makes sense because here it is. We're reading the book of Maccabees, the first chapter, and the first Maccabees, the 1st chapter. Okay, reading the book of the Job 9th chapter on the 24th verse. We're finding out the wicked are in rulership. Well, if the wicked are in rulership and the kingdom kingdom of heaven is being set up upon the face of the earth, those two entities can't coexist, man. Because the scripture says, can two walk together lest they be agreed? Alright, are you going to have it to where you're going to have some kind of council about what they're going to use the resources of the earth about? Water it might be, gold it might be. And on one side of the table you got the wicked, on the other side you got it to where you got King David on there. That ain't going to happen, man, because that's all only going to end in one thing. It's going to end in war. Okay, so the Most High having it to where this war is being played out now on the spiritual side. We see the war is going to be won when the Lord returns. Tells you about that within the book of Isaiah, the 63rd chapter. Okay, it tells you about that within the book of 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter. Okay, because how that the Most High was going to win that war, and he's going to win it without even lifting a finger, man. Okay, going to show you the power of the Lord. Back in the book of Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, on the 3rd verse, it says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time. All right, so the Most High has appointed a time where all of these prophecies is going to come to pass. Okay, right, the prophecy of Esau being revealed. Right, the mysteries of these scriptures coming to pass. Esau's power structure being destroyed. Esau going into slavery. Esau being wiped off of the face of the earth. All of these things have a time plan and a span that they're going to take place in. Okay? So that's what the scripture is saying here. It says, for this vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and it shall not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it shall surely come. So you got it to where you got the thing out there between Russia and America that gets hot sometimes and it gets cold, and it gets hot sometimes and it gets cold. Okay, I know pictures of me. You can take pictures of the signs. Okay, so that's all good and well. All right, but the scripture says, though it tarry, wait for it, because that thing's gonna come to pass, man. Okay, the fulfillment of these scriptures is gonna come to pass. But see, that's what catches a lot of people out, because they can't wait until the Most High is gonna come in their time. Right? Either the Most High is gonna wait. Either the Most High is gonna come 10, 20 years in the future when they have made all their money, or the Most High is gonna come tomorrow. Right? Not the Lord coming in his own time. But that's why the scripture talks about patience, man. Okay? And it talks about endurance. Okay? So let's get back onto the scriptures there. It says there within the 4th verse, behold, his soul, which is lifted up in him, is not upright, but the just shall live by faith. And that's one another of the mysteries. Okay? That we've been touching on all of this. Who is this person whose soul is not upright? Who is this individual that goes out, who the Most High deems as not having an upright spirit? Okay, and we know that through the scriptures to be Esau, which we've seen within the book of Job, the 9th chapter. Okay, we've seen within the book of Proverbs, the 29th chapter. We've seen within the book of Maccabees, the 1st chapter. Okay, so it says there, they also, because he transgressed by his philosophies. Okay, so we're gonna go out there into Iraq or Iran and set up a government. All right, and he goes out there and kills all of the people out there. Okay, or he goes and says this. This is what's written within the scriptures. We're going to flip it and we're going to go up against that. Okay? Right? And we're going to put it within our legislation. That's transgressing by one. Here it is, you can't even speak about us. You can't even speak up against certain things that the scriptures deem abominable, right, within this society because of the so-called legislative orders that this man decrees, man. But that's why the scripture says, "Woe unto them that woe unto them that decree unrighteousness." I roughly paraphrase. Destruction unto those individuals, man. Okay, let's go back onto the scripture right here. It says, "Yea, because he also transgressed by wine. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desires as hell and cannot be satisfied." Okay, right? So let's jump down to the point. It says, I mean, pretty much the point on that is here. I mean, you can go in on this scripture, man. Okay, if you was gonna do a lesson all about Esau, you go in, you can go ham on this scripture, man. Okay, but pretty much that's one of the mysteries that's contained within the scriptures right here. So let's go back onto the book of Proverbs, the 1st chapter. Let's not sidetrack too much. Okay, we keep straight to the point. Okay, so Proverbs, the 1st chapter, and I'll start back up from the 20th verse. So it says, "Wisdom crieth without, right? She uttereth her voice within the streets, right? She crieth in the chief places of concourse, right? In the openings of the gates, saying, How long you simple ones will you love simplicity?" Okay, and who is the simple right now? The most simplest of people right now are the Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, right? Because this is the people that says, we're black, we're Negroes, we're Hispanics, but they're the Israelites. Okay, they're the people who are the most sad, so they're gonna be the simplest people up on the face of the planet. Okay, now let's read a few scriptures, right? Going hand in hand with that. Starting first in the book of Isaiah, the 6th chapter. Okay, Isaiah the 6th chapter. And the 9th verse says, "And he said, Go tell this people, hear ye indeed, but understand them." So they see the prophets, the men of the Lord out here pushing this work, but they don't understand. Okay, right? And there's another scripture that goes hand in hand with that. So I'm going to get right quick. It's in the book of 2 Peter, the 3rd chapter. Okay? So they see the works of the Most High being manifested. Alright? They see these prophecies coming to pass. Okay? But they don't take heed to it. And it goes on to what he was saying within the book of Amos, the 3rd chapter. How the Most High was going to reveal these secrets unto his prophets. So the mysteries that we're reading about within the book of 1 Corinthians, the 4th chapter, those mysteries was only going to be revealed unto the elect of the Most High. Okay, so let's get into the book of 2 Peter, the 3rd chapter right quick, and read a little bit of that. Right quick. 2 Peter's, the 3rd chapter. Okay, so it says, "Knowing this first, they shall come in the last days scoffers, walking after their own lust." Okay, so in the last days, that's another indicator that you was in the last days. Right, you got chronic scoffers out here. All right, chronic scoffers out here on the comment boards. All right, out here within the public. Right, you got people that just want to come up against the word of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Okay, that's just their own luck. But see, that was an identifier. Okay, that you're living in the last days. Alright, because if they weren't scoffers, you wasn't going to be living in the last days. That was one of the prophecies of the last days that was going to be fulfilled within the last days, so to speak. Okay, so 2 Peter, the 3rd chapter, on the 4th verse, and saying, "Where is the promise of his coming? For since the fathers have fell asleep, all things continue from the beginning of creation." Right? So effectively, right, all the prophecies that were prophesied since the fathers was going before they fell asleep, All of that, they're saying, look, that's not coming to pass. The kingdom of heaven ain't going to be established. Esau's going to rule for perpetuity. Okay, so we might as well just go out there and make our money, right? We didn't miss it, so there ain't nothing wrong with making money. But see, the scripture talks about how pretty much comfortability, right? Roughly paraphrasing some of the scriptures here, but comfortability is the enemy, man. Okay? You don't want to be too comfortable, especially when you go to where the enemy is in rulership. Okay? That's why you're going to have it to where the vast majority of the men that was going to be pushing this world, they was going to be in certain positions where they was not going to be comfortable at all so that this truth may be magnified. That's why going back onto the book of 1 Corinthians, the 4th chapter, is going to be talking about how basically we're made the filth of the earth, the offscouring, but see, through this offscouring, you're going to have it to where those was going to be the men that's going to push and spearhead this truth coming out. Okay? So go back onto the scripture here within the book of 2 Peter, the 3rd chapter. Right, for they are willingly ignorant, and that by the word of the Most High is the heavens of old standing out of waters, right, but in waters, right, whereby the world that was then being overfilled with water perished. Okay, so that was the mentality of the men that were on the scene. Okay, right, when Noah was on the scene. And he was doing his thing. He's doing it as we are right now. The men of the Lord prophesying of the downfall of Esau, right? Prophesying of the destruction of this empire, of this realm, okay, of this kingdom, okay, right? And we're bringing that out and we're making you understand it. But see, the same thing happened with Noah. Okay, the word was being pushed out there, and dudes were like, man, that ain't gonna happen, man. Right, since the fathers have fallen asleep, everything continues as it did from the beginning of creation. And that's the same thing you go right now. People are saying, well, hey, nothing's happened since the Most High destroyed the earth during the time of Noah. Let's just carry on how we are carrying on. All right, let's just carry on. Let's just keep on doing what we're doing. Not realizing that the scripture talks about how the Most High is long suffering. Okay, so the Most High ain't just gonna come down on you, just come down on you with the judgment, but He's gonna have it to where He's gonna commit all this iniquity, and that's what Esau's doing. Here it is, he has it to where he had all of these people in hardcore captivity for the longest time, and now he just thinks that he ain't gonna receive no judgment because of that. Okay, the Babylonians will receive judgment for the wickedness that they did against the people of the men of the Lord. Right, on all of the different empires that have existed, they all received judgment, man. Okay, whether they dealt with Israel directly or they was just like you read about Tyre, the Zidonians. Well, they didn't, as far as you can tell, they didn't really have a hand in having us in captivity, right? As far as I can read within the slavery. Now, the history does say they did sell Israelite slaves and all of that because they were merchants. But the fact of the matter is, right, there's no within history with as far as I've read, okay, right, but there's no way it's not spoken about when with the Tyre and the Zidonians, they came down and they had Israel besieged against Israel, and they had this in hardcore captivity, but still the Most High still had it to a judgment played out upon them, right? That's spoken about within the book of Isaiah. Okay, it talks about that. How much more so a nation that took down the people of the Lord? Okay, how much more so judgment was going to come upon them? Right, and that's dealing with Esau. He done taking down the people of the Most High, took them out the interiors of Africa, right, West Africa, carried them out here into the Americas. Okay, had them in hardcore captivity on account of cheap wine and cheap labor. Okay. That's
7 heads and 10 horns is NATO. Result.
Yeah, result indeed. You alright there, my man?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So pretty much, and hey, that's a fulfillment of the prophecy that I was just reading about the scoffers. Okay. So here it is. He actually thinks this all in his mind. Hey, the scriptures ain't being fulfilled. Let me just carry on doing what I'm doing. Go out there, have some beers and that. But see, the judgment is around the corner. All right, and that's when a vast majority of these people, that's when they're gonna really perceive what was really happening out here, man. Okay, so let's carry on with the scriptures right here. So I read 2 Peter, the 3rd chapter. Okay, let's go back onto the book of Isaiah, the 6th chapter. So it's Isaiah 6 and 9. It says, and he said, "Go tell this people, right? Hear ye indeed, but understand not. See ye indeed, but perceive not." Okay, so they see the prophecies coming to pass, but because they're willingly ignorant, they don't see them coming to pass like that. Okay, but see for the men of the Lord, when they see the chip or the mark of the beast being pushed out there, we understand it's the mark of the beast because these people are willingly ignorant, especially the Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans. They don't. It's got to be something else other than the chip, right? Even though everything that what the scripture talks about within the book of Revelations, it says that what there was going to be a mark. Okay, you ain't going to be able to sell without it. Okay, it was going to be able to track you. You was going to be able to make you're going to be able to what, make transactions with it. Okay, so we identify that as the RFID chip, and as far as the rest of the people are concerned upon the face of the planet, it can't be that, right? Especially the Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, because what? Because they're willingly ignorant. Okay, so Isaiah 6:9 it says, make the heart of this people fat, and that's the curse that's been put upon them. Okay, so when these mysteries are being manifested across the whole entirety of the globe by way of the YouTube, okay, right, by way of the different camps that the Most High set up, right, to be out here, well, you're gonna have it to where a lot of people, they wasn't gonna understand this because they're willingly ignorant, and the Most High has put a curse upon them so they don't understand. But see, that's what makes it to where you was gonna want to be one of the elect, man. Okay, because we know that the elect was gonna be a small multitude of people, not a whole heap of people, and we know that that was going to be the truth because that goes hand in hand with what the scripture talks about, how a multitude is always involved with wickedness. Follow not a multitude to do wickedness, and how the path to the kingdom of heaven was going to be a small path. That's spoken about in the book of 2 Ezra. Was it the 6th chapter? Okay, maybe it might be the 7th chapter. Okay, how that they might be only one person that was going to go down that path. So if it is, here it is. You're in some church out there. There's a whole heap of people. Well, guess what? The truth can't be there. The truth can't be there. Okay, here it is. You got all of these different people on their different opinions and their ignorance, and they're all communing together. There's no way that the truth can be out there, man. Okay, but here it is. You will have a remnant of people, right, coherent with each other, right, dealing with a coherent doctrine. Well, that's going to be the truth right there, because the scripture talks about how that the truth was going to be found right amidst a small remnant of people. Okay, let's go back onto the book of now go to Romans the 11th chapter in a second.